Hey everyone, I'm Johnny Blackman, and of course this is Mobile Suit Blackman. We're here with some old fogies. Gramps, and we'll call them Char Gramps, the Red Comet Gramps. You know who these two are. Let's get right into it, and I'll see you on the other side. I really like this pineapple shirt, but I think it's got that new type Tim type of vibe, and ain't nothing wrong with that. So in our last video, we looked at some of the newer RG kits, the RG Sazabi and the RG New Gundam, and this time we're going to be looking at the oldest of the RG kits, the RG RX-78 and the RG Zaku 2 Char's Custom. These suits represent the genesis of the rivalry between the two during the 1-year war. Amuro is our young new type fighting for the Earth Federation, and Char is the ace Xeon pilot, the Red Comet. One thing I would personally like to point out is that this sets an interesting precedent for Gundam pilots hopping into a Gundam and calling it their own. We see this in the initial episode of Mobile Suit Gundam. And in the follow-up Zeta Gundam, Camille does the same and hops into a Mark II. In Stardust Memory, Gato steals the GPO-2 and sets off that string of events. And of course, our hero Yui in Gundam Wing has hopped into countless mobile suits. One thing to note is that the RX-78 and Char Zaku 2 are always the entry point for a new line of Gunpla. High grade, master grade, and perfect grade all began with these two kits, and the real grade is no exception. Now, what typically happens within each grade is that the RX-78 and the Zaku 2 have a series of updates, which each successive update, they usually improve upon the technology used in the previous version of the Gramps and the Zaku 2. The Origin Gramps and Char Zaku are incredibly detailed and articulate compared to the older high-grade versions. The Beyond Global has also used new technology to help it catch up and do what the old high grades could not. In terms of master grades, the Gramps and Zaku 2 have both seen 2.0 upgrades, and they've also both had Verka versions, as well as a 3.0 for Gramps and an Origin version for Gramps in master grade form. As of yesterday, we now have a 2.0 version of the perfect grade RX-78-2. Interestingly, the 2.0 Gramps also has a pre-built inner frame, which is the key feature of early real grade kits. The pre-built MS joint inner frame of the real grade kits has since been abandoned, and it's interesting that it will now be, no doubt, improved upon and used in the perfect grades. So, as I've mentioned, unlike other grades, the real grade line does not go back and update the older kits. So as a result, you have the initial Char Zaku and RX-78 that are not very good in terms of where current high grades and current master grades are versus their predecessors. What the real grades do well is advance the technology in general with each new kit. first 85%, and that's most real grades, feature the MS joint pre-built inner frames that we now understand are delicate and become loose over time. The shift comes in 2018 with the unicorns and the tall geese that start to rely less on the pre-built inner frames, and by 2019, the MS joint feature is used minimally. It's no longer the basic framework for the arms and legs at this point. It is also interesting and worth noting that up until this time, real grade kits were developed from perfect grade technologies. You see sliding armor gimmicks, added surface details, and connections without the 3mm hard points as some of the features that we can see evolving from perfect grades and scaled down to real grade form. Take note that every real grade frame up until the Crossbone and New Gundam in 2019 has a perfect grade counterpart. We can assume that the relationship between developing perfect grades into real grades has been perfected and is now being updated. We're getting mobile suits and kits outside of this framework, such as the Force Impulse, the New Gundam, the Evangelions, and even the real grade Zeong that's coming out in January of 2021. My hope is that we'll now start to see real grade technology that will borrow from the recent master grades such as Barbatos, Dynamez, and the full armor Double Zeta Gundam, all of which have been groundbreaking in their own respects for the master grade line. So to sum up my feelings in a nutshell, 10 years ago, this technology was revolutionary at the 1/144 scale. These kits may not be great now, but they still fit right in with the aesthetics of the rest of the real grade kits. And the greater moral of this is that the newer real grade kits such as Sazabi, New Gundam, Force Impulse, and the Evangelion kits have set the bar very high for the other grades. This is why I'm most excited for the future of the real grade line after taking a long break from Gunpla.